Hey, this is Levi Epps, hashtag Mr. Financial Freedom of the Credit Mix here with a special offer for Hard Parking Podcast fans. If you've been living with less than perfect credit for having evictions, late payments, bankruptcies, doesn't matter what it is. If it's something that negatively impacts your credit score and you're not able to get approvals for certain things, or maybe you got to pay large deposits and high interest rates, we don't want that to be you anymore. We have a program that will legally get negative items off of your credit report and keep them off. And we have a special code for a free consultation to see if we can help you. Text HP Credit to 737-4CREDIT. That's HP Credit to 737-427-3348. Let's get you back on the road to financial freedom.
This is the Hard Parking Podcast, Other Side of the Wheel, brought to you by Wright Honda out of Scottsdale, Arizona. And of course, I am your host, Jay Finning. Coming up on today's show, we have guest Trista Polo of Trista's Plate Story. So we connected a little over a year ago, and she has a podcast that focuses on what the meaning is behind the vanity plate. And I thought it was really unique, so I put her on a list of people I needed to talk to. And I let her know, and she said, yeah, I should be on your show. And I said, yes, and you should be on my show, and blah, 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 blah. This list that I have, it's constantly growing and shrinking. There's people who have been on the list for over a year that I just have not got around to reaching out to and getting on the show, or maybe I reached out to them early on, and they stood me up, or the planning didn't work out. Or there's people who get on the list at the last minute, and they jump in line. And Trista's been on there for ever. And so I'm glad she finally called me out on it and said, hey, are we going to be on each other's show? And then we finally made it work. Great conversation. That's coming up. But I want to talk about relationships, friends. I've always said before, there's only certain ways you really get to meet people in this world. You meet them through work, you meet them through school, or you meet them through hobby, traditionally. You go to the same college and you become buds. You have friends in high school. You have your work friends that you may eventually form real relationships with outside of work. And then obviously hobby. This podcast that I have focuses a lot on relationships around the car community, but not necessarily so much on the actual cars. I just had a really good friend in the automotive world that has kind of transcended over from being a good car friend to just being a really good friend. Matt Lindsey of NSX Rack Repair, he's been on this podcast at least 3 times. He and Charles Brown have been on here twice. Once to talk a little bit about NSX Rack Repair, which fixes the steering racks. Once to help me out on the Q&A segment. Every once in a while I'll reach out and find guests to answer the Q&A with me. And then once to talk about his business, his car collection business with his father. And he suddenly passed of a heart attack just this last week. And I posted on it on both my social medias. But this one hit close. It hit closer than most because Charles Brown and Matt Lindsey, they belong in that VIP lounge of good friends that I've met through cars. You know, we all met at NSX West Fest, which is a thing that we did in Vegas for a few years. And they fixed my car, my power steering rack at one point. In fact, I'm the only one ever to have to send the rack back twice because I beat on it with a hammer trying to get it in. Because again, you guys know me as a car person. I will mess up trying to install some shit on a car because sometimes I just don't know what I'm doing. But that's kind of what made me famous to them is I was the only person that they had to fix the rack twice. But we just built a strong relationship, a strong bond. And man, every conversation was so much fun. Every time we'd go to Vegas together, we just had so much fun. And they touched everybody like that. Anytime you got around Charles or Matt, it was just a lot of fun. And some of the best memories that we have with these people that we met through work, through hobby, through school, are the ones that are just hanging out. Whether you go out to eat, you go to the bars, someone gets sick and pukes all over the place, Charles, and you just never forget those. And so every NS Expo, it's like, okay, I hope Matt and Charles are going to be there. And there's other people that I hope are going to be there, but those two more so than most because it's always a good time. And I'm never going to see Matt again. And he left behind a beautiful daughter and a wife of 15 years. I want to say they were married for 15 years. And when Charles did the post, I Didn't know what to say. I just responded with a bunch of dashes. And then Charles called me within seconds, literally seconds. And we just talked on the phone for 30 minutes. And it was good to hear his voice. And I was extremely humbled that he said he just wanted to talk to a good friend, a familiar voice. You know, it's hard. So what I'm going to play for you guys right now are some of my favorite clips over the past few interviews that I've had with Matt and Charles. And then I'll get you over to Trista. Okay, yes. So here we go. I just looked it up. So the KC Double Down is basically a chicken breast sandwich inside out, essentially, because you have a patty on top, patty on the bottom. Are they patties if they're chicken?
I think they're regular breasts, not like a
regular You can't breast. Call them patty.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So you have like a breast at the top and the breast at the bottom. In the middle, you have like bacon and cheese and all that kind of shit.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then obviously the donut chicken sandwich is you have a glazed donut, and that is the bread essentially. And then you have the chicken in the middle.
Kind of like a bagel.
Exactly like a bagel.
If they would throw in 2 fat thighs, you could call it the Hillary Clinton.
The Clinton sandwich. Yeah, that's nice, man. That's
2 small breasts and 2 fat thighs.
That's a good one. Here's what I would do. I think I would eat the KFC Double Down only because it's got all goodness. It's kind of dumb.
Right.
But I've had a donut chicken sandwich before. In Chicago, there's a place called Do Right, DO-RITE, and they're known for their chicken donut sandwiches. So KFC is biting off of Do Right, and I've had those before. It's in downtown, and it's really good. It's a good one-timer because normalcy is good, and I just want bread.
Yeah, I agree, but I could handle the donut thing, but the 2 breasts and the bacon and the cheese, it just sounds like a good gut grenade or something like that. You know, it would wreak havoc on your stomach for a week. Oh, well, still.
I don't think grilled is an option.
Oh, was it not? Is it breaded?
It is breaded.
It's got to be.
It comes in a sleeve, though. Yeah. That was good. Okay, and then the other question is, let's go with, would you eat durian? And so durian is, I want to say Chinese or Indonesian or something. It's the spiny fruit. And apparently it's the stinkiest thing in the world, but apparently it also tastes really good.
You know, I would try anything wet. I'll say that.
Have you eaten anything that stinks or just things that just seem foreign to us on the west side of the world?
Well, like that, the fisheye that I ate in Vegas on a dare, it smelled pretty horrible as soon as I bit into it. And it was like, eating an AIDS-infested marble. It just, it kind of exploded whenever you bit down on it, but the core was like really, really hard.
How big was this thing?
Yeah, it was so bad. But they have that on video, so it actually happens.
Yes, I have video.
Can you send
that to me?
It's not a marble size. It's more regular marble size. Yes, I will send it to you.
Thanks, Charles.
Charles, what about you?
I might eat it. I'm definitely more picky than the average bear, I guess.
I've always said no, I wouldn't eat anything like that.
Well, it's
however,
fruit, so if it was some kind of raw animal like a puffer fish or something that could kill you.
They say it smells like roadkill. It smells like garbage, roadkill.
Yeah, probably.
Well, now that is one thing I've always wanted to try, though. Is it the puffer? No, the puffer fish or what? That in Japan, if it's prepared just slightly wrong, it'll murder you.
Right?
Isn't that just a blowfish or something, or is that?
Yeah, same thing, I think. Yeah.
Blowfish, flounder, or something like that. I mean, you can order that at Long John Silver's, I think. I don't think you have to go to Japan for it.
Well, it's probably different.
I mean, Red Lobster. I'm sorry.
Long John Silver.
That's hilarious. Captain D's, yo.
Yo, I know Captain D's. Do you guys still have Captain D's in Mississippi?
We do, yeah.
When I was a kid, we used to go to Captain D's in Garland, Texas, and they've since closed them all down for obvious reasons, I guess. But remember, you get like the captain's basket or the captain's meal, and it would come with like the soft shell or the crab.
Oh yeah,
they still have that there.
Seafood platter, yeah, we do.
The stuffed crab or whatever. I completely forgot about that till like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, dude.
You can't get that shit at half these other places.
No, and this is our closest one is about 25 miles away, so we don't have one in town, but But I have eaten. I don't eat there often at all, but I have eaten there a few times.
Special occasions, right?
Yeah, just on my birthday or something, I want to go to Disney World and
real fancy.
Yeah,
I do the same. Hey, honestly, I do the same thing for Long John Silver's. Like if I had a bonus check when I had a normal job, like I would literally it was kind of a joke, but I'm like, all right, I'm gonna treat myself. And then I go to Long John Silver's and I'd go to the drive-thru, get a number 3 platter, and I'd get clam strips instead of like the coleslaw, because coleslaw sucks. And I do that move where you pull over and you're sitting in the parking lot and you eat it in the parking lot instead of going inside because you're kind of ashamed and embarrassed. And then when you get done, you're full and you're ashamed and you just kind of like throw it out in the nearest trash and go home.
I feel you.
Yes, that's funny. It's like the walk of shame afterwards.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing, man. And now I got like
by yourself. That's one thing.
I do that all the time with my job, but now I have like a Long John Silver's friend. My friend Will with the Lotus. We'll go out and we'll do like Long John Silver's pop-up meets.
That's cool.
I've never ate at Long John Silver's. Seriously, never ate there.
It's
we don't have
Captain
one
D's, I guess. So would I eat durian though? I don't know if I'd eat. I watched a YouTube video on people eating durian for the first time. I don't know. There's so many things in this world to eat. I could probably not eat durian.
Right. And live a long, happy life.
Yeah. For as long as I need to. Charles Brown, Matt Lindsey, NSX Rack Repair. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Jay. See ya.
My dad and I collected these things over the period of about 25 years. And
how many cars do you have?
Last count was 126.
Huh.
Yeah. I love you.
I love you too, man. That one hurt. Coming up, Trista's plate story. It's time for the social media highlight of the week, brought to you by Cell Shop Wireless Service, Arizona-based retailer that strives to be your destination of choice for wireless services. Visit them at cellshop.us. That's CELLSHOP.us and get your cellular game on today. Today's special guest is someone I've talked about connecting with at least a year ago. My bad for not making this happen, because this is right up our alley. Trista of Trista's Plate Story. Welcome to the Hard Parking Podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. You were my very first iTunes reviewer.
No kidding. Oh my gosh. So because I want to jump into your podcast because I always felt it was unique. I have thoughts on vanity plates that I've kind of ripped on. I want to get your thought on that as well. Tell the listeners a little bit about Trista's Plate Story and how it came to be.
It's all about vanity plates, except it's really kind of about the drivers who chose them.
Of course.
And it started because I've always been kind of dunce when it comes to figuring out what the plate is supposed to say.
Yes.
I'll be driving along and I'm like, what are you going for? Like, what are you getting at? I don't know what you're trying to tell me here with this plate. So I would post it on the internet, Facebook or whatever, and get all the hive mind opinions, which was hilarious because nobody really ever agreed when they were really weird. And this one person said, you should get a plate called Plate Lady, PL8 Lady. And because, I was constantly sharing license plates. And at this point, people are sending me plates. And it just sort of became this weird thing I was known for, completely by accident. So that happened. And then I kind of caught the bug of getting my own plate. And I decided to choose a plate that would promote my business, which is an online franchise business. And so I wanted it to say paid to shop, but I'm not all that creative. And so I just did PDTOSHOP because in New York, where I am, you can use 8 characters. The problem was the first few times I saw friends with my plate loud and proud on my car that I was so excited about. They're like, why did you put Photoshop as your license plate? Because the font was not supporting my whole message here. And if I'd used a 2, a number 2 instead of the TO, it wouldn't have been a problem, but just the way I did it. So now the plate is just like sour for me, like I just hate it now because it's doing the opposite of what I wanted. And this whole process, that whole like emotional roller coaster of the whole plate thing, I thought, I bet I'm not the only one with a story. I bet that license plates, you can only choose one. Even tattoos, you can have many. but you can only choose one plate. Like that must have been a pretty important decision for people to make. So I sort of just like had that thought about it. And I started talking to people who had plates, and I was surprised at how right I was. And I said, this would be a really, really great podcast. So I started creating all this promotional material and then realized I don't have the plate story. So I better get it. So now that's my plate and it's my podcast. And I think I'm at like 67 episodes, 66 episodes now. And I'm having a blast. It's like this very specific window into the driver's soul. And it opens up some pretty cool conversations.
What has been like your biggest challenge with this? Because it's funny that you say that it's difficult to kind of decrypt, because I tell everyone, unless it is clear as day, I suck at trying to figure out what the hell these plates. I'm terrible at them.
Yeah, I'm getting better with practice. I saw one in a parking lot. They just opened a Legoland amusement park in my area. So I took my sister and her family for her son's birthday, my nephew's birthday. And in the parking lot was a license plate. And I said to my brother-in-law and my sister, what do you think that says? And she said Chesapeake, and he said cheapskate. Like two completely different words and meanings of the exact same plate. And I just find that so fascinating.
Which one was it actually?
Oh, it was cheapskate.
Yeah, cheapskate.
Yeah, totally.
What has been your favorite one? And if you remember off the top of your head that you've reviewed or had on your show?
You know, it's hard to answer that because they sort of feel like my kids.
Yeah.
How do you pick a favorite?
Mm-hmm.
But my mom had been bugging me to, because they're human interest and they're all over the place with topics. My mom's been bugging me to put everything in categories. And I just did it yesterday. And what I realized is I tend to have a favorite in each category. So in the business category, my favorite was Zermatt. It's this entrepreneur CEO guy from Utah who created a passive income with his business through his blood, sweat, and tears. And his license plate is about the fact that he went to Zermatt in Switzerland, I think it is, and just saw like anything is possible and created this dream life that he and his wife just had a baby and bought a house and they're doing great. So like I realized I have a favorite in each category, but everybody's been amazing and so willing to share their story. And most people are not podcast guests, authors, coaches, etc. on the podcast circuit. They're just regular people who have a license plate. Yeah,
that's true. One of the obstacles, first off, I want to say I think it's brilliant that you would post just random vanity plates and people would just kind of all take a stab at it. I love that. That is such a fun exercise. It's almost like I'll put stuff on Instagram and it's like, complete this sentence. And it's the type of stuff that pops out. And I usually say, keep it safe.
Yeah.
Be clean,
Yes.
But I love that idea of doing, apologize, of just putting it up there and just letting people's imaginations go free.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that I think is great is people it's harder, I think, for listeners to see my podcast and say, okay, well, that's just cars, right? Because it's society and culture first, cars second, at least on every other episode. But yours is, it's Trisha's plate story. So, you might suffer from some of this as well, and you may not ever know about it. But when people say that, it's not a car podcast at all. It's about the people. It's
That's
about
right.
It's about the people and their successes, their failures, their journeys in life. And I think it's giving random people an opportunity to share their story.
It is. And I really didn't start out with the intention that I have now, but since I've been doing the podcast, my real intention behind it is there are so many angry people on the road, and it's so easy to take that anger and frustration out on the person who's in your way or cut you off or is riding your tail or whatever. And so by sharing the stories behind these vanity plates and humanizing the drivers that are with us on the road that we tend to take our stressors out on because we don't know them, like just giving us hopefully a little more kindness and compassion. Like these are the people out on the road with me every single day. They have lives and hopes and dreams and struggles and successes and families. And so that kind of became what it's about for me.
Sure.
It wasn't that altruistic when I started, but it definitely is now.
Are you a road rager? Would you consider yourself a road rager?
I'm not, but I have a friend who is, and she just gets really angry. And she's like the most Zen yoga master kind of person. You know, she meditates and stuff. When she gets behind her car or behind her wheel, she just really gets very frustrated with people. And so that was definitely in my mind when I was creating this new altruistic view of what my podcast can do for the world.
It's funny. My wife is kind of like that too. And she swears she isn't, but everybody in the family knows. We'll be on a family trip. And if she just happens to be driving, if someone cuts her off, or she'll come home and tell me a story when she was driving home from work back when everyone, you know, not everyone goes, we've been working from home for a while now, but I look at her like, honey, why? Like she cut me off and then she wouldn't even look at me. I said, well, because she probably didn't know she cut you off. Like, just let it go, you know? And I've had people fly around me and cut me off, and I just kind of laugh at it. I don't know why. I just find it amusing that people get so upset. My father was one of those guys, man. If you cut him off, he would ride your tailgate, you know, or he'd get in front of you. And I'm like, Dad.
Back.
Yeah, I was like, Dad, what are you doing? You're going to get us all killed.
I used to be a real estate appraiser. So I was in my car like 8 to 10 hours a day. And sometimes I would drive pretty slowly because I'm trying to find the turnoff or I'm trying to find the house or whatever. And I just got really used to pulling over, letting people just be, you know, whatever they got to be, do whatever they got to do. If you're in a hurry and I'm not, just go around me. And it created this very, you know, peaceful way that I drive. And I'm sometimes in a hurry and stuff, but I definitely am on the opposite side of the road rager because of that, because your being in a hurry doesn't have to affect my day. I can just let it pass and let you pass.
Bless you for that. As someone who likes to go on car cruises, I've talked about this before. There's always that one person, and it's obvious. If you have 20 cars that look the same but they're a different color, they're probably together.
Yeah.
And there's always that one person who just wants to squeeze in between them, or go slow when you can tell they're all trying to hang out. And it's just get over yourself. Just pull over a little bit, like most civilized people, and wave them past, and they'll appreciate you for it. So bless you for that.
Yes. The little bit I can do for the world.
Little things matter. That's
right. The little things are the big things.
So you were telling me before we got this thing rolling that you just bought a Honda Clarity. And my question was, what the hell is that? You want to tell us what that is?
Yes, I didn't know what it was either. So right now, cars are nowhere. There's just no cars. I'm in New York in the Hudson Valley near New Paltz, Poughkeepsie area, and there's no cars. And I really wanted a hybrid, and I wanted to try out all the hybrids that I could. So I tried out a Hyundai Sonata, tried out a Toyota Camry. I really wanted to try the Honda Accord hybrid. I couldn't find one. I was willing to drive a couple of hours so I could sit in one.
Sure.
And I found out that there were two on the lot in Albany, which is like an hour and a half away from me. So my husband and I take a little road trip. We drive up to Albany. We get there. They'd already been sold. Now, I just drove an hour and a half. And you're telling me that there's no Honda Accords that I've been trying to drive this car for a week now. And you're telling me there aren't any. And the guy was like, yeah, sorry, you can come back tomorrow. And I'm like, I don't think so. Right. I want to drive a car. And I think it was a Hail Mary, you know, just to try and appease me. He's like, I have a Honda Clarity hybrid. Do you want to try that? I'm like, I don't know what that is. So it's a plug-in hybrid. It was made in Japan. They actually had multiple kinds of the Clarity made. They had a fuel cell hydrogen engine. Is that what it is?
Oh, geez. Yeah, maybe.
And the plug-in, they just weren't popular. They were really popular in 2018. I mean, as popular as the car ever was, because nobody has ever heard of it. But they just don't make them anymore. They actually just closed the factory this year. And they haven't sold them in New York for a long time. They were doing really well in California, comparatively. So they were only selling them on the West Coast, but they just didn't have the numbers, and they stopped them. And I think they're replacing them with the Honda Accord. In fact, my insurance company calls it a Honda Accord plug-in. And the dealership said, yeah, that's technically what it is, even though it's the Clarity. So I think they've replaced it with the Honda Accord, and they're probably going to make the Accord a plug-in eventually once they work themselves out. But I love it. It's spacious. It's spaceshipy. It has lots of bells and whistles. My husband loves that it's a plug-in because he loves playing with, like, how far can I get on this, gas and stuff. It's got great gas mileage. Mine is this burgundy color, so it's really pretty. I'm just very happy about it. Especially when there are no cars, I got the perfect car for me.
Yeah, I'm looking at one online right now. What year is yours? Is it It's
the 2018.
2018, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at this 21. And at first I was thinking, gosh, 47-mile electric driving range. Oh yeah, wait, it's a hybrid. And yeah, so the gas mileage, you're right, it's out of the park.
Yeah, it is. The 18s are the only ones you can get around here because, like I said, they don't even sell the new ones in New York anymore.
Right.
And all the 18s are coming off of lease. Those 3-year leases are being turned in for the next car they get. So the only thing I found around here was the 2018s.
I'm looking at your 18, and it looks a little cooler, I think, even than the 21s. But you're right, it looks incredibly spacey.
Yeah, it is. It's basically the Accord body inside. That's what the dealership said.
So on the inside, I'm assuming, because Honda does a pretty good job at some of the creature comforts, and with Accord being kind of their flagship, their flagship model, I'm guessing it's got Apple CarPlay. Are you Apple or an Android?
I'm Android, but yeah, it does. It has the Apple Android link.
Yeah, Android Auto.
Heated seats, the touch screen, with I can't remember. I just looked at a bunch of cars in a short period of time. So I can't remember. It has the plugs in the back and also the front.
Sure. Like the
dual
USB and stuff like that.
Yeah. It has lots of bells and whistles.
Interestingly enough, yours has a 1 mile range more than a 21.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, you're at 48 and it was like at 47 or something.
Oh, wow. What'd they do to it?
You would think, battery technology, it would be increased by a handful.
I was going to say.
You would think.
You would think. Well, maybe they were shutting down the factory and they just weren't trying that hard. I don't know.
So how can people get a hold of you? So obviously Trista's Plate Story is on Apple, but you don't have an Apple. So where do you send people?
Yeah, it's everywhere. So you could call up Alexa and ask to listen to it, and you'll get it. So you can get it on Apple, Google, Spotify. I think it's on iHeartRadio online. It's everywhere. You can search for Trista Polo, my full name. I'm very well SEO'd on the internet. You might come up with Ralph Lauren Polo shirts or shoes. Sometimes they name those Trista, depending on the style.
Well, the model named Trista wearing it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, if you put in my full name, you'll find it. And I actually ended up with a guest because he was looking up license plates, and he came up with my podcast from there. So if you look up Plate Story, it should come up too. But Trista's Plate Story podcast will get you there.
And that's plate with an 8, PL8 story, which is clever.
I like how you said that. Plate with an 8.
Plate with an 8. It just kind of, I'm just naturally talented like that.
You are. I'm stealing it.
One of the funny, I brought this up. I have like a random thought of the week a few episodes ago, and they could be pretty crazy. But this one was about vanity plates. And it seems like on social media, and you may have noticed this too, if someone has a vanity plate, they want you to know.
Yes.
But if they don't, they're blurring that thing out.
Yes.
Why do you think that is? Because either one's going to reverse you to the house if they really wanted to find you.
I agree with that. And I think it is because it's called a vanity plate.
Right, for a reason.
When I first started my podcast, I had a couple family members. You know how family members always have an opinion about things that you do?
Mm-hmm.
So I had a couple family members said, you're just going to get a bunch of narcissists And, really egotistical people. The only people that get vanity plates are people that are really egotistical. It's called a vanity plate for a reason. And I didn't buy it, and I was right, and they were wrong. But I think it kind of goes to, like, I spent extra money for this. I chose it. I picked it out. It means something to me. Sometimes it means something I succeeded in. Sometimes it means a family member that I lost.
Right.
Sometimes it's a powerful message to themselves. I have one plate, keep going is the plate, and she has chronic pain, and it just reminds her to keep going no matter what. So I think that they want to, it's part of their personality, whereas the other one, they specifically didn't personalize it, and they're trying to be under the radar, incognito. That's what I think.
I'm trying to think of what state it was or what state it still is. Maybe Illinois. I think there's a state where you can customize your plates for nothing. And I don't remember where it was, but I remember seeing like everybody had a vanity plate. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And I looked it up and that's what it was. But you're right. Because, here in Arizona, I don't know how many plates that you guys have in New York. And I know at least a couple that I've seen. But we probably have 50 plates we can choose from. Of course, anything other than standard is an extra fee. And then, of course, customization is an extra fee on top of that. So,
yep.
And I've done that cycle a few times. You better believe you're going to know what's on my plate.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it might be Virginia or there's multiple. You go to Virginia, every other car has a vanity plate.
Yeah.
And it's so cheap, or it doesn't cost anything there. So it might be Illinois as well, but definitely Virginia. Now, New York, it's fairly expensive compared to some of the other states, but it's popular here because we get 8 characters. We're one of only 2 states that has 8 characters available, so you have a lot more choices with that one extra letter or number.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think everybody else is limited to 7.
Yes.
And then some places get the little like the little icon or the cute little exclamation point or the little heart I've seen in there. And we don't have anything
Texas.
like that here. Is it Texas that has that? I'm like,
Texas, you can do that. Yeah, one of my guests, her license plate is technically I Fresno, but she has the heart as the icon, so it's I Heart Fresno, which is a character she created for her child when her husband died suddenly, and they had to go through a whole grief thing, and they created this character, a skeleton, and his name is Fresno, and he's like, a grief support and helped. So she turned it into a children's book series and all kinds of stuff to help kids through tough times.
There you go.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's a classic example of, it's one of two things. Those who know it means so much more. And those who don't, it's like, there's nothing good about Fresno, California.
Oh, see that? It's all about having the information.
It's all about having the information. Trista, I want to thank you for coming on the Hard Parking Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I had fun. I knew I would. Thanks so much.
So I told you guys that was going to be amazing with Trista. I really liked the energy. I liked our back and forth. I would love to have her come back on the show, maybe as a guest of the Q&A segment. That would be a lot of fun. She is all sorts of awesome. So thank you, Trista Polo of Trista's Plate Story. Again, you guys can catch her podcast is Trista's Plate Story, PL8STORY, available basically everywhere. Follow on Instagram, like she said, just Plate Story on Instagram, PL8STORY. So I recently had a conversation with Adam Carolla, which is one of my podcast idols and one of my favorite celebrities ever. I consume most of his products, whether it's the audiobooks, In 50 Years We'll All Be Chicks, Not Taco Bell Material, getting to run into him at Monterey Car Week at the Acura event has always been something I've looked forward to. And they aren't long conversations. They're usually really short because he doesn't talk that much. But I asked him about that. So that's coming up on a future episode, maybe the next episode, maybe the episode after that. going back to Matt a little bit and relationships and how precious life can be. And I know we use that a lot in our culture. We use that saying, life is precious, but it is. And losing Matt, he was a huge loss to the NSX community, which means he was even a bigger loss to his family. And for those of us who considered him a personal friend, he was a huge loss. And there's a few people on my list of guests that could be, any of us could be gone at any time. But there's a couple people on that list that I just need to hurry up and get on my show to go ahead and kind of commemorate their voice forever. So Wayne, I'm talking to you. John Vassos, I'm talking to you. John doesn't listen to the podcast, but you guys will hear, I'm going to get John Vassos on here, one of the top Acura techs knowledge in the world, synonymous top 5. Such a good, fun guy, too. We would always call him Pat Riley. His hair was slicked back, always hitting on the ladies, always laughing. But he's a surgeon. He's surgical with NSXs when it comes to working on them. Got to get him on here. It's time for me to do my official closing, but stick around at the very end of the closing. One final special treat from Mr. Matt Lindsey. I want to thank Wright Honda out of Scottsdale, Arizona, higher quality detail out of Tempe, Arizona, boosterbath.com, foilonline.com, tonguetreats.com, and Cell Shop Wireless Services. Can't forget the Credit Mix. Patreon business supporter, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida. RJ, what is up? If you're in a position to help the podcast upgrade, join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month and get access to bonus audio as well as show swag, which, by the way, thank you, India. India is the number 2 listener on my podcast statistics behind the United States. Thank you, India, for believing in me.
I told people I collect classic cars and old guitars. They all have a story, and if they don't, I'm not attracted to it. And
you have a guitar handy? You can jingle us on the way out here?
Oh, maybe. Okay, here's an old guitar. You want to hear a song about Jay?
Sure, send us off.
I don't sing. I was just kidding.
God damn it.
How about that?
And I've enjoyed this very much.
I always do. Jay Finning here, and I want to tell you guys about 4 Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4 Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. Their truck products cover everything you need to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. And if you need a tire and wheel package, head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitters today. So visit them online at 4Wheel Online or call them at 813-769-2451. Again, that's 4Wheel Online, the number 4 Wheel Online. Are you tired of blowing out your back at the bathtub while washing your dog or subjecting your canine to a water torture bath while leashed up to a post outside? Now there's a far more effective way to wash your pet while saving your back and keeping your dog happy. It's called Booster Bath, a portable bathtub on legs. Head over to boosterbath.com, one word, and pick one up. Available in 3 sizes, this tub system features a drain, a soap cubby, and water controlling wand. This tub conveniently breaks down to be stored when not in use. Want to save 10% on your first time purchase? Head over and sign up today to make that happen. Boosterbath.com.